go page 12, numbers 17 through 34. Notice that's all 35 through 45 odd, and then 55 through 60 all. Alright, let's jump right into this. For the first problems, numbers 17 through 25, the directions say to write the expression in exponential form, or in other words, write this expression with an exponent. So 2 cubed, that means 2 to the third power, or 2 cubed. Now, 2 to the third power means 2 times 2 times 2, which is 8. However, that's not what I want you to put. That's not what the directions asked you to do. The directions said write your answer in exponential form. That means write your answer with an exponent. So that's your answer, 2 cubed. P squared, or in other words, p to the second power. So p squared, p to the second power. Number 19, 9 to the y-th power. That just simply means put a 9 and then put a y for your exponent. Nothing tricky, nothing difficult, very simple. If it said 9 to the 5th power, you would put a 9 and then a 5 for your exponent. It says 9 to the y-th power, so it's y for your exponent. And now I think you're seeing, students, why I gave you so many problems. These are very quick and very simple. Well, some of them are, some of them aren't. B to the 8th power, so B to the 8th power. 21. Now here's where it gets a little more difficult. I have 3 times 3 times 3 times 3, so I have 3 to the 4th power times y. Or, if you wanted to eliminate this dot and simply put 3 to the 4th power y, that's totally fine, because when a number is next to a variable, it means multiply. So either one of these two answers would be acceptable. 3 to the 4th power times y, 22. T times t, well, that's t squared. I have 2 t's, t squared. 23. I have 6 c's. C is being multiplied 6 times, so c to the 6th power. C to the 6th power. 24. I have 1 5. And if you want to put a 1 right here, you're welcome to do that. You don't have to. Times x to the 5th power, because there are 5 x's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is a great acceptable answer. If you don't want to put that dot, you don't have to. You're welcome to put 5x to the 5th. And that's the exact same thing. Either one of those two answers would be totally acceptable. Alright, moving on to numbers 25. We have one more. Okay, now, look, we have 4 times x, 4. Now listen carefully. Let me show you 2 different ways you can do this. Okay, first of all, I have 4x, 4x, 4x. So some of you probably want to put this for your answer. And that's incorrect, because when I look at this, it tells me I have how many x's? 3, but how many 4's? Only 1. Okay, so if you're going to write it like this, you must put a parenthesis around it, and then put a 3. Now that tells me you have the 4x written how many times? 3 times. So this is a great answer. I have no problem with that. That's fine. Here's another way to look at this. Remember, 4x means 4 times x, and then times. And then 4x means 4 times x, and then times 4 times x, right? I mean, 4x means 4 times x. 4x means 4 times x, so on and so forth. Now I have a question for you. Forget this problem for a second. If I had 2 times 5 times 7 times 10, that's the exact same thing as 5 times 2 times 10 times 7. I could write these 4 numbers in any order and get the exact same answer, because they're all multiplying. This would equal 700. This would equal 700. And this would equal 7. If you don't believe me, get a calculator out and check my work. You'll see. So it really doesn't matter what order you write things when you're dealing with multiplication. So I have 4 times x times 4 times x times 4 times x, which is really the same thing as 4 times 4 times 4. You need me. Times x times x times x. Right. I can write these in any order that I want. Now how many 4's do I have? 3. How many x's do I have? 3. And that is also acceptable. So if you want to look at this as 3 groups of 4x, that's fine. But be sure and put parentheses around it so the person knows that it's the 4 and the x together being written 3 times. Or you can break it down to this, rewrite it like this, and then put 4 to the 3rd power next to the 3rd power. It really doesn't matter. Okay? Alright, moving on now to the section numbers 26 through 34. Alright, and the directions say to evaluate the power. That means to solve it. Okay? So that's what we're going to do for numbers 26 through 34. Okay, students, here we go. 10 to the 2nd power does not mean 10 times 2. It means write the 10 2 times and then multiply. 10 times 10 is 100. 5 to the 2nd power does not mean 5 times 2. It means write the 5 2 times and then multiply. So your answer would be 25. 8 to the 2nd power, 8 squared means 8 times 8, which is 64. And again, now you're seeing why I gave you so many of these. They are very quick. A lot of them are very quick problems. 6 to the 4th power means write your 6 4 times. 6 times 6 is 36. 6 times 6 is 36. Times 6 would be 216. Times 6 is 1,296. 1,296. And I'm going to grab a calculator because I want to make sure that on these problems I'm not making any mistakes, that I have these exactly right. So I'm going to be typing these in, and that is the correct answer. Moving on to number 30. 10 to the 5th power. So we're going to write the 10 5 times, and we're going to multiply. Alright, so 10 times 10 is 100, times 10 is 1,000, times 10 is 10,000, times 10 is 100,000. So there we go. 10 times 10 is 100, 100 times 10 is 1,000, 1,000 times 10 is 10,000, and 10,000 times 10 is 100,000. Alright, 31. 7 to the 4th power, so we're going to write the 7 4 times. And here we go. 7 times 7 is 49. Times 7 is 63. Carry your 6. 34. Bring down your 7. 21. 30. I think that's correct. Let me type in my calculator and make sure that's right. And the answer is correct. 2,401. So 7 times 7 times 7 times 7 is 2,401. Number 32. 4 to the 6th power. So we're going to write the 4 6 times. 4 times 4 is 16. Times 4 is 64. Times 4 is 256. Times 4 is 1,024. Times 4 is 4,096, I believe. Let me type that in quickly. And yes, that is the correct answer. So 4 to the 6th power is 4,096. Okay, moving on to number 33. 9 to the 3rd power. So we're going to write the 9 3 times. 9 times 9 is 81. And 81 times 9 is 729. Alright, 9 to the 3rd power. 9 times 9 times 9, 729. And then lastly, number 34, 2 to the 5th power. So we're going to write the 2 5 times. 2 times 2 is 4. Times 2 is 8. Times 2 is evaluate the expression for the given value. So now we're taking what we applied yesterday, what we learned yesterday, and we're applying it now to these problems with exponents. So I have 4 to the n power. So 4 to the 5th power. And look what I do, guys. Every time I make a substitution, I use parentheses. That's a very good habit to get into. Alright, so I have 4 to the n power, n equals 5. So I put a 5 where the n is, so 4 to the 5th power. So write the 4 5 times. And we did that earlier, I think. No, we did 4 to the 6th power. Let's go back and look at that. There we go. So 4 to the 6th power was 4,096. Let's go back here. That means 4 to the 5th power was 1,024. Nothing wrong with using previous problems that we've worked out to help us, okay? So 4 to the 6th power is 4,096. Go back 1. 4 to the 5th power, 4 times 4 times 4 times 4 times 4 is 1,024. Alright? 1,024. Okay, moving on to number 36. Okay, x to the 6th power. X is 10. So here's my x. I'm going to put a parentheses like I've taught you to do, then make my substitution, and then bring down my 6th. So where the x is, I put a 10, and we're going to write the 10 6 times. 4, 5, 6. Okay, now go back to number 30 in your homework, and you're going to see we did 10 to the 5th power was this. So if I just add one more 10 and multiply this by 10, now I've got 1,000,000, okay? Instead of 100,000. Alright, do you see what I've done? I had 10 to the 5th power, which is 100,000. So 10 to the 6th power is one more 10, which is one more 0. So 1,000,000. So if I take 10 to the 6th power, if I write out my 10 6 times, 10 times 10 is 100, times 10 is 1,000, so on and so forth, I will get 1,000,000. Okay? So there we go. Moving on to number 39. W to the 3rd power. Okay, well, W is 13. So I put a parentheses for the W. 13 to the 3rd power. Okay, so here we go. First of all, we have 13 times 13, which I think is 269, but I'm not sure. 169, okay. So 13 times 13 is 169 times 13 would be 2,197, I believe. Yeah, that'd be a 7 right here. 9 times 3 is 27. That's a 7 right there. And there we go. 2,197. So 13 to the 3rd power simply means write the 13 3 times. And then 13 times 13 is 169. Times 13 is 2,197. Number 41. Now we're getting to some double variables with double substitutions, which is great. So I have a big parentheses, right, with a 2 on the outside for my exponent. So where the x is, I'm going to put a parentheses and put a 5. Then I put a plus sign. Then I have y. So I put a parentheses and I substitute 3 because y is 3. Now students, think about this. This 2 is outside the parentheses. So that means this 2 goes to what's inside the parentheses. So what you want to do is you want to take this, all of this stuff, for lack of a better word, all of this stuff inside of the parentheses here and get it down to one number. So I have 5 plus 3 inside the big parentheses here. 5 plus 3 is 8. Bring down your exponent, and 8 squared is 64. 8 times 8. Now some of you probably want to do this. Some of you want to square the 5 and put 5 squared plus and square the 3. 3 squared and get 25 plus 9. Look at that. You don't get the same answer. This is wrong. You cannot do that. You must first take the inside of the parentheses, simplify it down to one number, and then take that number to the proper exponent or to the proper power. So 8 times 8 is 64. Okay? Number 42, or 43, excuse me. Okay, students, once again, we have a big parentheses here with an exponent of 4 on the outside. Here's my A. I'm going to put a little parentheses and A equals 4. Minus, and then B. B equals 2. And here we go. Now, once again, 4 goes to everything inside the parentheses. Remember what I showed you in the last problem? Do not put 4 to the 4th power minus 2 to the 4th power. Okay, do not. That is wrong. That will not give you the correct answer. Okay? You first have to simplify all of this stuff down to one number, and then take that to the 4th power. So 4 minus 2 is 2. 2 to the 4th power. So I write the 4 2 times. 2 times 2 is 4. Times 2 is 8. Times 2 is 16. And there's your answer. Number 45. Alright, here we go. I have a big parenthesis with a power of 2 outside. Here's a D, and D is 13, so I put my parentheses. 13 minus 3. So everything inside the parentheses goes to the 2nd power. So let's simplify this down to one number. I have 13 minus 3, which is 10 to the 2nd power, and 10 times 10 is 100. Okay. Alright, next we're doing numbers 55 through 60. 6 of these, and when we finish, these are a little more complex, so be ready to think hard and work hard, okay? First of all, I have a big parentheses with a 3 on the outside. Inside I have 5W, or in other words, 5 times W, so 5 times parentheses W is 5. So I'll put a 5 right here, okay? So let's simplify all of this down to one number, and then we'll raise it to the 3rd power. 5 times 5 is 25. So I'm taking 25 to the 3rd power, okay? Now remember, students, these were the ones on your homework that I said you could use a calculator, okay? So 25 to the 3rd power. With a calculator, take 25 times 25 times 25, and you will get 156,000, or excuse me, 15,625. Alright. Number 56. Now look at the difference, please, students. Look at the difference here. Here, 5 W's inside the parentheses, so we know the 3 goes to everything inside here. You see that? That's not what I have here for 56. Notice here there's no parentheses. Do you see the difference? Here, 5 W's inside the parentheses, 3 on the outside. So I must work this out first on the inside, okay? But look at 56. There's no parentheses like this. If there was, then this 4 right here would go to everything inside the parentheses. Not the case. This 4 only goes to the T, okay? So in other words, if I were to rewrite number 56, I would rewrite it like this. 6 times T times T times T times T. There would not be 4 6s, just 4 T's, okay? Alright, here we go. So I have 6, and then T. So I put a parentheses for T. What goes inside the parentheses? 3. And 3 to the what power? 4th. Now a lot of students like to multiply this first. 6 times 3 and get 18. And take 18 to the 4th power. That is wrong. That's a very common mistake in Algebra 1 and in Algebra 2. Learn now to develop good habits. That is wrong. Okay, now, if it looked like this, 6 times 3 inside the parentheses, then you would first take 6 times 3, and then you would take 18 to the 4th power, 18 times 18 times 18 times 18. That's not what we 6, and you will get 486. Alright? Hope that makes sense. Look that over and make sure you understand it. Okay, same thing here. 7b squared. Notice it's not written like this. It's not. So the 2 only goes to the b. If I were to rewrite this, it would be 7 times b times b. Okay? So I have 7, then parentheses for my b, and I substitute 7 to the second power. Okay? Now, do not multiply these first. First do your power. So I bring down my 7. 7 times what? 7 squared, which is 49. And then take 7 times 49, and you will get 343. And there we go. Number 58. 2x squared. So 2, then parentheses for the x, 15, and then squared. Do not take 2 times 15 and put 30 and take 30 to the second power. That is incorrect. 15 to the second power first, which you're welcome to use a calculator. That's 225. So I have 2 times 225 because 15 times 15 is 225. And then 225 times 2 is 450. So there we go. Number 59. Okay, now we're back to the parentheses. Do you see that? So I have a big parentheses right here. And then notice my 3 is on the outside. Now inside I have 8x, or in other words, 8 times what? 2. Because x equals 2. 8 times 2 is 16. So I have 16 to the third power. With your calculator, 16 times 16 times 16 is 4,096. 4,096. And lastly, number 60. 5y to the fifth. Notice there is no parentheses here, so we simply just write my 5. Then a parentheses for my y. And then a 5 on the outside, and where the y is, I'm going to substitute 2. Do not take 5 times 2, it's 5 times 32. Because 2 to the fifth power is 32. Alright? And then we take 5 times 32, which is 160. Alright? And that's it, students. I hope this homework help video has been a help to you. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to call